The wait is over. You were waiting, right?
Oh, God. No. Please, no.
The end is nigh. Darwin and Cat are back.
The boss. Everyone's had one. Some good, some bad, and some almost defy explanation. On this episode of Darwin and Cat, we explore the wild world of bosses, from the inspiring to the downright bizarre. We also have a special guest joining us, our former boss, Dan, who was one of the good ones and who witnessed firsthand the birth, rise, and spectacular demise of the original Darwin and Cat radio show, the very show that sparked the creation of this podcast.
Dan was actually our boss's boss, right? He was somebody that...
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, okay. And he's somebody that I just wished at the time that we worked for directly, because he got us. And I don't think he blinked at whatever we were doing, even if people were bobbing in a toilet for 9 Inch Nails tickets.
And the way you said that, he got us. He totally did. And it was like, he was always the one, when we'd get in trouble, I'd be like, I wish we were getting in trouble with Dan and not
Dan
Kevin.
thought it was funny. He doesn't want to lock us in a closet somewhere.
He actually liked us.
Yep.
I think somehow even more after we accidentally became the talent at his 30th birthday party.
Were we official talent for his party, or did we just shoved up there?
We inspired by the open bar.
Oh, of
For
course.
some reason, we decided to cover The Killers, somebody told me, as Ethel Merman.
So we were very inspired by combining Ethel Merman and The Killers. You know, she did a disco album and then she croaked. Had she lived, you and I were convinced she would have covered The Killers.
Uh-huh. And so you and I decided together I don't want to use the word harmony here because I'm not very sure that's what really happened.
I'm pretty sure we were singing in unison.
Sure.
It was not like a barbershop or anything.
Do you know that video evidence of this exists?
No,
Yeah.
no, really?
I've never seen it, but I've been told by multiple people who were there that there was video of you and I doing the whole, oh, somebody told me
That you were a boyfriend who looked like a girlfriend. Something in February. It's not confidential. I've got potential.
Yeah. Except for we were much louder and more into it than we just were now.
Yeah, we had a lot of enthusiasm. I don't know if the audience did, but I think most of them knew who Ethel Merman was. So points for that.
Because we're just kind of that sort of unhinged people.
We're just song and dance people at heart.
I will say he did not regret inviting us to his birthday.
I don't think so.
I hope not. We'll have to ask
I
him.
guess we'll find out soon.
So he'll be on later in the show. And along the way, we've had several bosses in radio. And some of them, honestly, were really good. And I think not everybody can say that. But there's a few notable exceptions. We did a whole episode, number 18.
The Wrecking Ball.
He was the very worst one, I'd say.
Check that one out for sad and horrific stories and tales of woe.
But we make it funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
In the best way we can.
Yep.
We did have one boss elsewhere who was the uncoolest person ever, who was constantly, desperately trying to be cool. And it wasn't happening. Like, do you remember the time you went to that Green Day show wearing that members only jacket? And what are those things called when you put out your arms and they have the hanging, shredded, what do you call those things?
Dork flaps? What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, they're dork flaps. You know how they put out their arms and there's strings of leather hanging?
Oh, yeah. That was very kind of like George Michael, gotta have faith, dingly dangly strings.
Is that what they're called?
Sure.
Okay. Well, he wore this jacket and he thought he was so cool because all these kids were taking pictures of them, clueless to the fact they're making fun of the old man in a lame jacket.
Do you remember some days he would rock a Miami Vice look? The kids love that, right? Little Crockett dubs.
So cool.
Very, very cool. Roll up those sleeves on your blazer.
Before you worked there, he backed into my truck once.
No. Oh, what a drag.
Yeah. This is bad. I had just gotten it back from the body shop after someone had backed into it in the same exact spot.
Wait. You just got it back from the body shop. That's like, I just scooped the cat litter and now Mr. Mittens jumps in there.
Yeah, exactly. An hour prior, I had gotten it back from the body shop and he hit it and I was so pissed. And he tries to talk me out of filing an insurance claim. He's like, no, please don't. And this is like,
you know,
boss.
We could cut a little deal just between us.
Yeah, so he's like, I'll write you a check. Show me how much it cost, to fix all this. And it wasn't cheap. So he writes me a check. I go the next day to the bank.
Oh, no.
The check bounced.
Of course.
He never pays me back for the fee that I had to pay. So I filed the claim anyhow. And
That's why nobody even writes checks anymore.
Right?
He probably like had his little checkbook and he like balances it by hand. Ugh, weird.
He never brought it up again, but he was really sore because, so when I filed the claim, come to find out, he also hadn't paid his insurance.
Oopsie.
So my insurance company had to go after his. So that made it really awkward. But I don't want to get too much into why he was so awful because really, he ended up being truly evil later on down the road. And we won't touch that, right?
Not going to go there.
In our first episode, we talked about working for Brooks Brown, the legendary owner of WEQX. He was as eclectic as they get.
All respect to Brooks, he helped shape the modern rock format. And I think he had almost as much influence as K-Rock in Los Angeles. But he was scary, one-eyed, giant Wookiee of a man. He was terrifying, Darwin.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, until you get to know him.
You were more scared of him than I was.
I was very scared because I didn't work there for as long as you did.
And I worked there basically 3 times, we'll say, pretty much. And when I first got hired, I had applied to be an intern. They needed somebody they just needed somebody. They're like, we're just going to pay you. Program director at the time, a guy named Kyle Gadarian, he said, listen, if Brooks comes in and says, I want you to play a Barbra Streisand record, you get in your car, you drive up to the Northshire bookstore, you buy a Barbra Streisand CD, and you play it for him, and then we'll reimburse you. Like, you do what he wants. If he wants Babs on the air, you play it. That's literally what he
told me. We'll reimburse you not only for the cost of the CD, but for the mental torment that Barbra Streisand causes.
So I was under the impression that at any moment, Brooks was going to just appear. And by the way, he still had both eyes then. So this is before
it fell out right before I got there.
Yeah, there was a whole thing like he was told don't have surgery on it. You might lose it. And he said, I'm going to do it anyway.
Is that why he had the monocle with the needle that stabbed right into his face? Okay.
Yeah, that was a whole sideshow story. So he still had both. Yeah, so that was.
And R.I.P. Brooks Brown. He is no longer with us and he is missed.
No. He's been gone over a decade.
Yep.
Been quite a while. But the station's still going. So tribute to him. We had other bosses too that we started giving nicknames to. Like some of them that we liked. Some of them we didn't. Like, we loved Dr. MD, Mike Dufort.
Yeah, cool guy.
He was the CFO at Albany Broadcasting.
And an MD at one time.
He didn't really, but I don't know. Why?
I don't know. I kind of think of the people in Prince's band who wore scrubs, maybe they weren't actually doctors, but I'd think of Dr. MD as a doctor.
Yeah, Well, I remember one day one of our coworkers said, why do you call him Dr. MD? And we're like, because his name's Mike Dufort and his initials are MD. Get it? Dr.
We thought about this far too much.
And somebody didn't, they just didn't get it. We're like, okay.
Just move on.
And then you've mentioned Kevin a few times.
Yeah.
But you've never mentioned what we called him, K-Cal.
K-Cal, yeah. Kevin Callahan was K-Cal.
K-Cal.
Famous station in LA, K-Cal Channel 9. So he just became K-Cal.
Which we just started calling him K-Cal. He was the VP of programming. He was the one that would send us the See Me.
Yeah, and at times, because K-Cal put out so many fires, we'd call him Daddy. But, that's kind of gross.
Oh, that's true. There is a picture somewhere where I'm bending over and he has a baseball bat.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's
I think that kind of summed up your whole relationship with him.
That was weird because other people started calling him Daddy when we started to call him Daddy, too. And that was, we did that to him. You're welcome. Then there was Terry. And did we have a nickname? I don't think we had a nickname for Terry, did we?
No, I don't.
No. Terry was just one of those really odd people that just can't be odd. Is that a good way to describe Terry?
Well, I at times really liked Terry. I liked him, but he did give off kind of like this waft of serial killer.
Little bit. Now that you mention it.
Because I can imagine that people would say, he was kind of quiet and kept to himself. And, there's no good story that goes along with that.
Yeah, you bring it up. You have a good point. He's still there. He bounced around radio a bit, but he's back at Albany Broadcasting. And
I don't know. Everybody seems to go back.
Yeah, not us.
Not us. We're not there.
I have a feeling our pictures on the wall do not admit.
If you see these people, promptly
call 911. No, I don't think they hate us there. But Terry, we didn't have a name for. Terry was Kevin's assistant, who I don't even know what his title actually was, but he just had the job of having to babysit us, I feel like, right?
He was the one giving away our show, the commercials, either for free or for $5. And he said, the Darwin and Cat radio show, you get what you pay for. And that still bugs me. Right. That still makes me sad.
Yeah, Terry could be like that. You're right.
I mean, it's kind of true, but yeah, it still makes me sad.
Yeah. Why didn't we didn't give him a nickname? It's not too late.
I don't know if we gave Dan a nickname either.
No, I don't think we did. Why?
Because we like Dan. So we didn't sit there thinking of like some creepy name for him.
But we like Dr. MD too.
Yeah, but that's a nickname.
It's true.
Dr. MD we were fond of him.
Well, because he was really up high. He was the CFO. So we didn't want to we didn't want to
be completely obnoxious to him. Yeah, this is true.
Yeah. But at the same time, I feel like we just didn't care that somebody was also higher up. And we were just like, because he was a fan of the show too.
Pay me more and I'll care.
I know we were kind of like that with our people above us. We were just like, yeah, whatever, you're in charge. Cool. Hi. Like we were never those people that were good about somebody being higher up.
I didn't care about hierarchy when I'm starving. Darwin, we have somebody very special with us. I want to introduce Dan Austin. Dan, hi.
Hello. Special means pressure. I feel like there's pressure now.
No, there's no pressure now. It's just us. It's just us dorks. Don't worry about it. Dan.
Well, actually special because you are our first guest ever.
Okay. So feel a little bit of the intensity.
Again, there's pressure. Either you'll think this is the greatest thing ever and do a lot of guests, or this will be a one-time only thing.
It's like, oh my God, Dan killed all the guests for all of eternity.
So one episode with the guests.
We actually ended up crossing paths really early on at EQX.
Yes.
And that's kind of the thing we all have in common. But before we get to that, I know you started off at Syracuse in radio. So what's your radio pathway?
Yeah, no, I got into radio actually almost by accident. I grew up in the Syracuse area and I was doing the announcements for my high school. And one of the announcements that I read one day was that the college radio station at Syracuse University was looking for high school interns. And after I read that to the school, I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. I'm going to check it out. So I went to like an info session on campus and they had 40, 50 kids from all over the area for a handful of these high school internships. And I signed up and the rest was history. I started out going to events and handing out bumper stickers. And
that's the glamorous part of radio.
It really is. Going to a state fair and manning a booth for like 2 weeks in the hot sun. It was trial by fire. No, I fell in love with it. And actually that influenced my decision to go to school at Syracuse University because I was originally looking to escape the snow and go somewhere warm. I had looked at like Arizona and other places, but I fell in love with radio and the creativity and the people. So I ended up going to school there.
And then you've quite the resume of it too. When I met you at EQX, I was just starting off, but I was doing photography.
Yes.
And that was my way to sneak into EQX.
Uh-huh.
And yeah.
I remember meeting you in my office in EQX. I remember how excited you were and you had that. I mean, you still are. You have that energy and that passion, but that stood out for me. And yeah, that was my first sales management job. It was fun. It was cool working in that old Victorian house, and it was so quirky, as you guys know.
I just have to ask you, Nan. This was so long ago. Darwin was so young. Did he have like a high squeaky voice?
Maybe a little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
I was done with puberty by then.
Oh, okay. I didn't know how far back we were going.
It just came out.
Time to change.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Now he's very white on air, so yeah.
So when you were there, Fred the cat was there. And I think Segway was still alive, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love the cat. I tell everybody about the cat. Fred would sometimes come into your office. Like I remember being on the phone with a client in New York City, and it was an obnoxious odor that he let loose.
He was gassy.
I had to end the phone call. It was so bad.
You had to pretty much wear goggles around him. That is true.
He was so affectionate and social. And then Segway was the protector of the house. And I remember I used to get to the station because I lived like 2 blocks away. And I would walk and I would go get like coffee or an iced coffee. Several mornings in a row, I came and there was just like a little mouse on the mat for the door.
There you
go. And
that
was Segway's tribute to those of us that worked at the station.
Yeah, Segway was still there when I ended up working there, and then she died. So I got the kind of tail end of.
I had heard. Yeah.
The cats are great, but it was. I mean, on our first episode we talked a little bit about Brooks and just what a wild ride it was to work for Brooks and how erratic that could be.
It was. I mean, you know what? I have some of my favorite memories there, but also scary at the same time.
That's the exact thing that we say. Dan, I just have to ask you, do you remember, or did I imagine that Brooks had a monocle with a needle and it stabbed directly into his face? He didn't have glasses that went over his ears.
I had heard that. That was after I was there. But
Okay.
I do think that actually did occur, which was wild.
I saw it, and now I have backup. Thank you.
Yeah, that was after he lost the eye, and that was my second turn there. Yeah.
Yeah. I was one of the shortest stops in my career. I think I was there like 6 months, but I have a lifetime of memories from that place.
Yep.
Really.
Yeah. We could do a whole podcast series of people who worked there and the stories.
You could, because there's some really great alum. There was such creativity. It's an iconic station. I love that it's still there serving the community. It's just such a cool niche. But yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I remember, I think it was before Christmas when I was working there, he quit.
Brooks?
Yeah, he did that when I was there.
He's
too.
the owner, but he quit.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He would do that once a year. He would just walk out and quit.
No, he had like a big staff meeting. It was all upset because somebody missed a commercial at 6:03 a.m. And we had to all fit in the conference room that was like stacked up with magazines that he read and soldering iron that was still hot on the desk. And then he quit. And then I ran into him in town with the program director like a week later, and he's like sulking. He's like, I'll come back, but I'll only fix things.
That sounds about, yeah, he quit one year when I was there because somebody moved a keyboard.
Oh, naturally. I mean, that's totally grounds for quitting.
Yeah. Someone took the keyboard from Enco in the studio. It was him, by the way, who moved the keyboard.
Of course.
Oh, I'm sure it was. Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, I quit. Good luck running this place without me. And we were like,
I think I remember that.
so, and Kat was terrified of him. Kat was like terrified.
All right. I'm not great technically, and I was always on the air by myself, but some things weren't my fault. We talked about this in a previous episode. There was one day where Brooks called me and he's like, you knocked us off the air. And I'm like, and I look and everything's fine. And he's like, I'm listening to the radio. It's all static. And I said, Brooks, what station are you listening to? And he went, never mind. He just was picking up static and thought, that's Kat's fault.
That's classic. Yes.
Yeah, there's a whole story I had of where he dragged me to the transmitter site once and didn't tell anybody he took me.
Oh, I never had that adventure, but one of my good friends that I went to school with, and then the reason I ended up at EQX, Jeff Wade, he got volunteered into driving him up the mountain one time.
Oh, he drove me after downing a bottle of Scope.
Oh, yes.
It's a minty fresh way to die.
Again, you're here, which means you've survived the experience.
Yeah, and he had lost the eye by then, and he asked me how close he was to the edge and to look out the window.
Darwin, I can't really see. Would you peek over the edge for me?
Yeah, I remember
Don't mind that curve. Just keep going straight.
that basically was it. And it was all ice. It was something.
I'm not afraid of heights, but I would be afraid of heights in that scenario.
Yeah, I was. And Jeff, I remember meeting Jeff. He was a good guy. And you were there. Let's see, Casey.
Yeah, Casey was there. She was good people. Yeah, I loved working with her. John Allers was our program director at the time. He was super creative, really good guy.
He ended up in Philadelphia, I believe, right?
Yeah. Not too long after I left, he ended up in Philly, and he had a long run at one of the Clear Channel iHeart stations there.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, he was a really good program director. I think 104.5. I can't remember where he was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that was the one.
Dan, did you go from EQX to Albany Broadcasting, where Darwin and I jumped over to?
Oh, that's a great question. Actually, I left EQX and I went to Channel 103.1, which was Clear Channel, now iHeart. I wanted to stay at EQX, but everything we just talked about, it was really volatile. Brooks was volatile. I'm like, this doesn't feel like a healthy long-term work environment.
That was a good intuition.
Yeah, I had a good gut on that one. 103.1 had just flipped and gone alternative. And so I ended up going there as a sales manager. And I was there, I don't know, I think like a year and a half or something. And then I left and a few other people had left and gone to Albany Broadcasting because I was looking for not corporate radio, especially coming from EQX, an independent station. It's just a very different environment going to Clear Channel. So Albany Broadcasting being family run and local, that felt more in line with what I was looking for. So that's how I ended up there. I was there, I would have been in 2001. Yeah, it was 2001.
Yeah, because by the time we got there, you had the office with the private bathroom. You made it.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Right?
fancy.
Or no, the bathroom was in the conference room next to yours, right?
No, yeah, the bathroom was in the conference room next to me.
Oh,
I
that's
didn't have
right,
the
that's
private
right.
bathroom.
And then we were by the bathrooms.
That'll tell you something. So how did it come
You're by the
about?
bathrooms and closer to HR than anybody.
I know.
Oh, that's true.
And Bev, HR loved us.
Oh,
Just
she
saying.
did. You know what? I adored her. She was. I still remember the quotes like "I am the record." But
Yes. Yes.
I am the record.
she was a huge fan of you guys. She loved you guys.
She did. There was one day she was coming through the door from wherever HR was beyond.
Yeah, it was in the catacombs. The other
Yes.
side.
I'm known for how quiet I am in an office
Just a little
setting.
church mouse.
And I had said something very loudly. I forgot what I said, but I'd sworn. All of a sudden behind me, I felt just this huge slap on the back of my head. And Kat remembers this, and I turned around and it was Bev. And she looked at me, and in that accent, she said, "Your halo is crooked." And then she walked away.
Fixed it for you.
She was
Thanks.
like an un-HR. Like I don't run into anybody now who can HR like that and get away with it. But
Yeah.
she did.
It was great. Well, I deserved it. And everybody
Yeah.
looked at me like I was like she had floated in like Dr. Kevorkian to end my life.
Hey, you danced
No.
with her at the Christmas party, Darwin, and there were a couple slower
Yeah.
numbers. You had your way with Bev.
I know. I was sexing her up.
Yeah, you would cast the spell. She definitely was fans of you guys. You were favorites for sure.
When we were onboarding and we had to do the HR, all the stuff with her, she talked to us about what to do if we're in an accident with a station vehicle. She said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Get in and drive away as fast as you can."
Get the hell out of there, right, Bev?
That was probably not the right answer.
Oh, okay. None of the above.
But she
maybe.
laughed. Remember, she laughed. She's like, "Ha, ha, ha," and then she just stopped dead laughing
And
goes,
said no.
"No."
Maybe she was AI before AI got
I
big.
think she was definitely like pre-Siri even.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so now I'm wondering how this cluster with like smooth jazz starts pivoting and hey, we're going to get a rock station and we're going to get a rock morning show. How did that all come about?
You know, I was thinking about it when you had invited me to come on and before I was logging in. And the great thing about this story, this is so cool and this would never happen today. But working for an independently owned company and the company was doing well, we were trying to figure out what to do with that signal because it wasn't as powerful a signal. It just never built a lot of advertising revenue. And Kevin was really passionate about the format, as was I. And we knew that there was opportunity with the name in the market because it had been given up. There was a lot of equity and brand equity in the Albany area for it. So we had several conversations about what format and what to do. And the ground rules from basically the owner and the high ups was don't lose any money.
Ah, okay. Just don't lose money. That's it.
Yep. And that's how we launched the station. We dreamed it up and decided what we want to do. And we wanted to get talented people like you guys to anchor the morning show. And we wanted to be active and visible on the streets, which is why we had that insanely obnoxious bread truck.
Oh, with
Remember
our
that
faces on it.
I couldn't get that image out of my head this whole weekend coming into this podcast because all I remembered was those faces. Like
not just our
floating on the
faces. It was like,
side of the truck. Like the disembodied heads on
Yes.
this giant flame-covered truck.
bright
A
orange.
graphic designer's nightmare.
Oh,
Because we didn't have money to really like market the station, so it was basically a mobile billboard for you guys.
just drive around and scare people with his
Yes.
truck.
Yes. Didn't that thing catch on fire?
I feel like it did after we
all were gone. I did not experience that, but I think that thing eventually reached the end of its life and caught on fire, literally.
As
If
it
that's
should.
not a metaphor, I don't know what is.
No.
You imagine being in the fire department trying to put that out with the flame wrap on it. You're not really sure what's actual fire.
It's very
and what's-
meta.
What's decorative.
I feel like they'd be just like, Earl, let it burn. Just put it out of its misery. Stand back. Shut off the
Well,
hose.
we might as well just go country now, you know?
And that's how it flipped to country, right?
And there it goes.
There it goes. I always wonder, one thing we always kind of wondered too was, I mean, we were pretty aware of the fact that the Mr. liked us, Bev liked us, like people seemed
Yes.
to really like us, which felt odd to us because we're just so quirky. And like, how did we really fit in with the higher ups? I mean, what did they think of us?
What did they really think of our show?
Yeah.
I think that they did. Everybody did really like you. I think most of them didn't understand what you did on the air,
Probably
But-
good.
which was probably for the best. But No, you guys were, you had really good office presence. I feel like you always observed and kind of teased the other shows and stations. And in a way that was like to the line, but like not over the line. So it was endearing. You guys had a good presence in the office. And so I remember everybody really including the mister, liked you guys. But I don't think he ever listened to the station. I don't think that was not his jam at all.
Well, his wife one time asked if I was free beer and she was hot wings, and then said, I don't know what I own. And we were like,
that sounds about right.
We were like, what? Okay.
Yeah. I think by being a little edgier and different, they really didn't know what you did. They were like, oh, they're funny. And that was it. That was your brand. You guys were funny and entertaining.
The first week that we were there, we had to kind of present to the whole company, hi, we're the new rock station. So Darwin and I get up there. When I look around, I see everybody's faces. I'm like, hi, we're the new Satan music station.
I actually do remember.
Do you remember
that.
when I said we were Satan rock? Okay.
Yes, I do.
I thought it was funny.
And then a week later, the mister has nuns parading in to meet Delilah.
Yes, and he was also very faith driven. So I don't know that comment went over the best, but ultimately in the long run, you guys stuck around.
It was an icebreaker.
Yeah, that was definitely a memorable icebreaker.
And you're like, what? Did I say something wrong? I'm like,
oh, we don't worship the Dark Master here. Okay, noted. Okay.
That was in the footnote of the packet that you signed.
I feel like the group of people that were there when we were there was such a collection of people that just happened to come together. Like, you guys did a great job of who you hired. But I feel you had such an incredible group of people there at that moment that it was actually, we always joke we got paid awful, but we enjoyed the people we worked with. Like, we liked going there.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, I agree. I think we had incredible talent on all the stations. It was a really fun time. It was an opportunity for us to take chances. Everybody was underpaid. It was always I felt like that was a lot of what I spent my time was trying to get people moved up the pay scale and to reward talent as much as we could, because that was always a challenge.
But when we got away with a lot there, I think, there was some stuff you guys let us get away with. I remember when were you still there when we started doing beer school on Friday mornings? Okay.
Yes. So, and you guys had a lot of creative freedom. We kind of basically let you guys do your thing and, basically just not completely break the radio station.
I mean, we literally got shit-faced at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And you guys were okay with that.
They're drinking on the air. And
there's no way that would fly now, but yes.
And these weren't light beers. These were heavy, hoppy, kick-your-ass beers.
I remember one day we both went outside to the picnic table because they're like, is it hot in here? It's hot. And
I think it's kind of itchy in there, too. I don't know.
And we both passed out on the picnic table out back.
Like, where's the morning show?
So, it's like, I think there's a lot of stuff we did funny off the air, but like, is there something that stands out for you that might be the weirdest or funniest thing we did on air or even off air? Is there something we did that was like the weirdest or funniest thing on air or off air?
I think the standout for me was you did impressions of some of the other stations in the morning shows.
You mean like when we prank called Chuck and Kelly?
Yes. So what stands out for me is how you kind of needled that I will always remember that.
Like when I called B95.
Some of them were pretty accurate.
I called them as a listener from Korea. Chuck was so excited. Where are you calling from? I'm like, Korea.
He played it on the air.
Well, what would you like to hear? Do it to me one more time by Captain Tennille.
Kevin called us in his office and was like, did you call B95 today?
He's like, really? Korea? They like Captain and Tennille over there, Kevin, don't they?
That was like that was your moment in the vice principal's office.
Yeah. He had the paddle
we did
out.
a whole episode of that called See Me, like where we'd get called in with the email See Me. And
Yep. You knew that wasn't for high praise.
Never.
So on our way in, before you came on, we were talking about a moment with your birthday party where we accidentally became the talent at your party and where we did a sing-along. Do you remember our Ethel Merman
He might have blocked it out due to trauma.
I do. No. I absolutely did not. I do remember that. That was epic.
Sorry we ruined your birthday.
But are you a big fan of Ethel Merman Meets the Killers? Because that will never leave your brain, I think.
No, that's tucked away right here.
Yeah.
Now, Kat didn't know this till today, that there's video of that I've never seen.
And there is video. You know what?
Evidence.
I have it somewhere. There is 100% video. It is. I will have to dig that up and see if I can share that with you guys. It is priceless.
Or should have stayed buried along with poor Ethel. But yeah.
Yes. No, I absolutely remember that for sure. That was outstanding.
That was fun. Now, we would have done that sober too, just so you know.
Oh no, for sure. But it was that was a priceless moment for sure.
But do you ever have a moment where you were listening to our show and you thought, oh God, someone's got, or did you just ever just like, someone's got to stop them? Or did you just like change the station and pretend you didn't hear it?
No, I would always listen. And sometimes I would keep listening because you guys would push the boundary and sometimes slightly over, which I think made your show interesting. But there were some times, but I always, if it was really something that needed to be addressed, usually Kevin was on it. I don't think I ever called Kevin and was like, hey, you guys.
You never narked.
No.
You weren't
if there
like.
was really something, it was more like I was making sure that there was no bodily harm or something, the building was on fire kind of scenario.
Right. Dan was never the drug sniffing dog of comedy. Like, what'd they say?
No, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Absolutely.
I like to say we gave you guys the freedom to be yourself. And that's what made the show good.
Is that what made us your favorite? I'm assuming we were your favorite show.
All my children were my favorites.
Of course.
Oh, it's that answer.
But we were the special children.
That's a good answer because JD listens to the podcast.
And we
we're
love
going to get him
JD.
on some point. Yeah, we love JD.
Oh, yes. Oh, awesome. You definitely should.
Yeah, JD's a good guy. We really like JD's. I feel like a lot of things happen in the break room there too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody kept stealing because I'm lactose intolerant. And like when I had to have soy milk and someone kept stealing it. So I wrote breast milk on it. And I went in one morning and the mister was holding the container that said breast milk.
Looking so horrified.
And he looked at me and he goes, who would do this? And I go, oh, that's mine. Like forgetting it's not actually breast milk.
naturally, why wouldn't it be yours?
Right. He didn't skip a beat. Oh, that's mine.
And out of all the people that have breast milk, I would be the last one there for various reasons.
But a creative way to keep your food safe from somebody pilfering through it.
Or like when he noticed Kat, what she had written on her headphones so people would stop stealing them.
All right. I did write gay sex on my headphones. Nobody took my headphones ever again. Got to get creative sometimes.
Explain that. Like, why do your headphones say that?
Can you elaborate on this?
Because they're mine. That's why they say that.
But he still liked us after all this stuff.
You know what? You still endeared yourself to him. He liked you.
I think we were like the 12-year-olds that worked there, the like perpetual 12-year-olds.
You were kind of like not in a mean way, but more in like the fun way, like the Gremlins of The Office, where you would
I can see that.
roam around.
We were gremlins.
Yes,
I don't know which one was Corey Feldman, but we were gremlins. Yeah.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
do. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, I think most of the other shows and personalities knew you guys were playful, but I think there were some that maybe were a little more sensitive than others.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dan, now that we've established that we're your favorite show, because you did absolutely say that, if we were all trapped on a desert island, who would you eat first, me or Darwin?
Oh gosh.
Think carefully.
Well,
Think who's going to be tough and stringy, who's going to be tender.
Wow.
I'm not pro cannibal.
Okay.
So
All right. I'm going to put you on the record saying you are not into eating human flesh. Okay.
No.
Put it out on the
No.
table.
Yep. But I will tell you a fun party game. There's a game we got it as a family gag gift this past year that's all about the Donner Party. And you have to figure out who in the family is a cannibal.
I knew
It's
this was.
basically- Yeah.
I knew this
I would
was a
highly
good question.
recommend that. Play it with a lot of people. It's super fun.
All
But
right.
again, still, maybe, and sometimes you find out people who might be into cannibalism.
You know, Kat's like, I got a really good question to really throw at the end here. Who would you eat?
I mean, that's kind of a typical question, right?
Yeah, that was good. That
When
was good.
you're-
At least once every weekend it comes up.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for I feel seen and heard, Dan.
I'm glad he hasn't given this much thought. That makes me feel better.
It's so nice to have you here, Dan. It's just like, it's such a pleasure to talk to you after all these
This has
years.
been awesome. It's been so much fun to reconnect with you guys.
Thank you so much, Dan.
This is so fun, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me as potentially your only guest ever.
We'll see. Probably.
It went well. This was good. You were good. You behaved.
All right.
Great. Thanks, Dan. That was really great to hear from our old boss's boss.
Dan
And
the
Dan's
man
such a great guy.
Who we never
No.
gave a creepy name to.
Yeah, we're not going to call him Dan the man. I don't know. We got a Dan A? No.
I guess we still like him a lot. We just don't have a name for him.
Hold on. Dan, who will not eat either of us.
Oh, that rolls off the tongue. I like that.
Thank you.
Dan, not
I'm
accountable.
Great like that.
Mhm.
So thanks to Dan for joining us, and we will have other guests for sure, because there's still lots to talk about, and come to find out, see, we weren't lying. People actually liked us. They really liked us.
Or at least that's what they say to our faces.
Yeah. Way to pop my balloon, Cat.
We really appreciate you finding the Darwin and Cat podcast. And if you'd love to help us keep going, we would be so appreciative if you would hit the like button, if you would subscribe, and hit the little bell notification if you're on YouTube. And that'll let you know when we drop new shows.
Thanks for listening to the Darwin and Cat podcast. We'll talk to you next week.